Okay, so we've got some of the apples here, and got them slightly defined. They're a little bit drier now. And if you notice, a lot of the colors have sort of spilled into each other, okay? And we've got some nice glares on the apples. Again, I did this fairly quickly, so a lot of the colors sort of spilled together. That's okay, and actually, in watercolor, that's kind of a beautiful sort of thing that it's important to let the watercolor almost do its own thing. Don't try to control it so much. It's sort of a secret to watercolor. Guide it, but don't control everything it does. And we'll kind of mop that up a little bit because I'm afraid that's going to, see? I'll just pull it up with the paper towel. Just a touch. Because I don't want it to spill too much. So we've created some shadow. We create an overall look and feel for the apples. We don't want to get too crazy with all of the details, because what happens there is you can start to create too many lines and brush strokes in it, and it starts to look labored. So don't, careful with how much you add in. You will get a sort of a labored look, and it's you don't want that. Okay, so there we go. We have the apple. I'm going to add a little more color here, just a little darker spot there. I'll actually add it with a bit of color, and I'll just dab it up a little bit. Okay, and then we'll just do the peach. Here again, we'll do the same thing. I'm actually gonna add a bit of permanent rose on this one, and a little bit of yellow ochre, and see how that looks. That's perfect for that. Let me just get a little bit lighter color now. Again, remember I said I want to start off with the lightest color, right? I test it. It's fairly light. Perfect. It's light for those light areas, and I want to kind of leave the glare. Okay. Go all the way around here a little bit, fill it in. I'll leave this for the darker area, and I'm going to just allow that light glare to sort of be in there. I used actually a little bit of water there to my brush. Okay, and then what I'm going to do now, again, I probably should wait for some of this, but I'm going to add a little darker color now. Now the color's sort of spilling together, but that's okay. It's actually creating a really nice gradient. I can add a little bit of more red there too as well, if I want to create some more red. And then I'm going to go in here like this. Add a little more color. I want to create more color in here. There's a lot of beautiful colors actually in this thing. I add a little bit of sepia too as well. There is the part of the plum that actually does where the indentation is. So I'm going to allow that to happen. And I'm going to just cover that there. Now, I've noticed that that's a little bit dark, so I'm going to just pick it up with a bit of water. Okay, and I can actually lift it again. I can lift that up. If I find this too dark, just lift it up with a piece of paper towel. Okay, and add a little bit of color there. I like the color. Okay, we're just adding a little bit of color here and there. That's okay that that's built together. I'm actually okay with that. I'm going to lift that up again, just a touch. Now you can sort of see the colors of the apple, or sorry, the plum, shall I say, start to come together. Add a bit more color on the bottom for shadow. I use a lot of burnt umber to create shadows, so I think. Okay, there we go. We got a nice shadow on the bottom there. I'm going to add that up into there because that's going to create that. Okay, I'm just going to add a bit of red in here too as well, just for color. add just some straight color. Just don't want to kind of get that. See, I'm just adding color in there. Now, again, the other thing too is you can move this around. I've taped this down, right? But you can move things around, right? If you want the colors to move around and want the water. So you can move your board around all over the place to kind of create the shapes and move the water in the direction you want it to go. I'm just going to bring this around a little bit now, over here. So you see, I'm just, actually in many instances here, I'm just moving the water around, right? Okay, so you can start to see the apples, or sorry, the plums starting to take place here. Create a little. Now, again, once this is all dry, you can start to add little details if you like. I'm going to leave this like this right now because I want this to dry completely, and then I can fill some of this other areas in with some lighter color. I want to keep my glare for the most part. That out of there, just kind of, okay, like that. Okay, yeah. So I'm gonna leave that like that for now. And then what I'm gonna do is fill in some of the back area here. Now remember, I said building up of color is important, right? The reason that we do this, or the reason that we build the color up, is because we started off with the lighter areas in the painting, and now we can add some of those darker areas in the background to define, and we can cover over. So as I kind of move through this, I'm actually going to cover over part of the, you know, and part of the apple and define its shape a little bit better. Right? Back in here, I've got a lot of color in this one, but I want to move fairly quickly too. You don't want to let the watercolor dry too fast, because then you'll see so many brush strokes in it, and for me, I don't want all of these brush strokes showing in my paper. So you can sort of see that's being defined now. And we're using the dark edges now to define the rest of the painting. Now actually the technical name for this is called negative painting. Okay, and you can see that we've kind of, now I don't want to get too crazy and too close to that, right, because that's still really wet, and if I do, I'm going to end up with all kinds of problems. It's all going to spill together, and I'm going to lose sort of what I have here. But you can sort of see what's going on here. I'm not going to go back in there, because if I start to go back in there, I'm going to lose, again, like I said, I'm going to lose those beautiful brush strokes I have, and I don't want to lose them. Try to get as close as I can to this, without making it spill. And I love, for me, I love that sort of the background that's really just exploring water, like just the water color design by itself, right? It's creating a beautiful water, design as the water sort of spills together. Now this part here is not dry, but that's okay. I'm going to pull some of it out, I think. Now it's important to know that sometimes what you get, I'm going to add a bit of color in here too, is that the shadows actually have some of the color in it by reflection. So I'm going to just do that. Okay, then we got a nice shadow. Okay. Now once this is all dry, I'll add in a lighter color of something very, very light, because this, if I look at, you know, it's mostly white is the table. So I want to add really just a hair of color, not much, just maybe a little bit of blue or something, just to hint at it. I won't go right on it right now because it's still, again, like I said, it's still fairly wet, and if I do that, everything's going to sort of start spilling together, and none of us will be happy. But anyway, you sort of see what I'm getting at here. I think this is okay. This one's a little bit touch and go in here. I'll just add some in there. I want these to come together again. And anyway, you can sort of see. Now this is a very light color. You can sort of barely see it. But that's yeah, and now you can start to see. Yeah, you can start to see things coming together. And as like I said, if you let things dry, you can obviously define some of these areas a little bit better. I'll have to add a bit of color in here. Okay. And again, when you let things dry, you can actually go in there and create the stems and get a little more detail. You know, you can come in here and you can do this kind of thing, right? The important thing is to have sort of fun with it too. Like, don't get too upset or too worked up about everything. But anyway, so that's a start, a good start to our watercolor demo on some apples and a plum, and gives you a good idea how we can sort of create definition and shadow. Thanks very much for watching.